Mr. Miran, welcome to the committee. Thank you to the chair and ranking member. I just have a couple of straightforward questions for you, which will hopefully be easy to answer. So you currently work in the White House as an economic advisor to the president, correct?
Thank you, Senator. That is correct. I do currently work as the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors in the White House.
Right. And so in this role, you've had a hands-on role in implementing the president's political and policy agenda. Would that be fair to say?
That is not correct, Senator. The Council of Economic Advisors is an advisory organization. I have no statutory implementation powers whatsoever.
Well, you've been described as the architect of the Trump tariffs and a vocal proponent of the One Big Beautiful Bill. So it seems to me that you've been part of the administration's policy and political agenda. Senator Kim referenced just a bit ago about the paper that you co-authored that argued that short-circuiting the revolving door between the Fed and the executive branch is critical to reducing the incentives for officials to act in the short-term political interests of the president. You wrote this, and I actually agree with it. So, I mean, here's my concern. Given the nature of your current role and your expressed concern and mine for insulating the Fed board members from the day-to-day political process, I just don't understand how your nomination doesn't break the rule or the goal that you've set out yourself. I mean, you previously said that no one can go from being a high political operative to being politically neutral. And I mean, I agree with you. When you have taken on a role of advocating, it's very hard to step away from that. And I don't know how you could be an exception to that. Last September, you criticized the Fed's decision to cut rates as the biggest policy mistake in 2021. But now, I mean, where do you stand on that? That President Trump is in office. You've done a complete 180. I don't understand what your position is on this now, and how can we expect you to be unbiased and neutral?
Thank you for the question, Senator. As I was saying to Senator Kennedy a few moments ago, I think it's a mistake to focus solely on monetary policy when thinking about the path of inflation and employment. And I think that the full suite of policies, economic and otherwise, affect those outcomes. And what the Fed ought to do is to be forward-looking in its expectations of where inflation and employment are going, because those are the mandates that Congress assigned to it. My understanding of how economics works is that a wide variety of policies that have been implemented since January are actually quite disinflationary. And let me give you one example, which is the border policy, which you might not think of an economic policy, but the truth is that if you increase the number of occupants of housing by millions in a relatively short period of time without a dramatic expansion of the number of houses, it's going to put upward pressure on rents.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I know I just have a little bit of time left. And I'm not disagreeing with the fact that that the Fed has a broad portfolio and that it is a complex thing. But what I'm concerned about is because of the role that you've had in the Trump administration, and now as the president tries to move you to the Fed, that we are all so concerned about the open question about the independence of the Fed because of the things that President Trump has said. I think we can be pretty clear about what's happening here. This nomination, your nomination, is getting rushed through because the president is frustrated with the Fed for not cutting rates. And he wants loyalists on the Fed board. I mean, that's just pretty obvious, I think, to what's going on here. So I just think it's important that we not lose sight of this. We not lose sight of what's happening, and also not lose sight of why the president wants to see rate cuts go down, because the economy is in a struggle right now because of the trade war, because of everything else that he is doing. And this flailing that is happening, I think, is the result of it. So my view here, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member, is that it is extremely important for this committee to take a stand against politicizing the Fed, that is the best thing for the long-term health of our economy, and that this is not the right step to take if that is our goal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator.